This is a special edition of WeatherScope. Comprehensive severe weather coverage from the Weather Channel Forecast Center.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Brad Edwards here in the Forecast Center of the Weather Channel with John Hope, our hurricane specialist, and we're covering, of course, special coverage continues with Hurricane Eduard, which is posing a threat to the eastern coastline, especially southern New England. But with time, John, we have some good news, I guess.
I think we have quite a lot of good news, actually. The winds are down to 100 miles an hour. We expect the winds to diminish more than that now that the center of the storm is over colder water. And we have seen a little bit of a jog on the track now to the east of due north, and that encourages us to believe that the center of the hurricane is likely to pass to the southeast of Cape Cod and Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard.
That's right. Some small indications that things are improving. We can't certainly let our guard down. Here's the latest, though. 38.1 north, 69.9 west as of 5 o'clock. The next advisory comes in at 8 o'clock, so very soon. The winds at that time 100 miles per hour and about 200 miles away from Nantucket Island, moving generally in that direction, north at 14 with a slight movement to the east, and the pressure 961 millibars, and that has also been rising, a sign, I guess, John, that it's kind of filling in a little bit or losing some of its pressure gradient.
Right. It hasn't been rising very rapidly, though. Each time an aircraft goes out there, they go out there about 2 hours apart, say, and it only comes up 1 millibar, possibly 2. So it's not an abrupt rise, but it's going to be continuous. It's going to keep on going. The pressure is going to keep on coming up, and the winds are going to decrease.
Yeah, and you can see a lot of the clouds have gone inland. Only a little bit of rain has made it inland, and some of the rain and wind has made it into Montauk, Long Island. And that's where Dennis Smith is at. Dennis, conditions there, are they deteriorating?
Yes, they are. In fact, the rain's coming down steady but light across the area. The winds continue to pick up just a little bit since we spoke to you last, running probably about 15, maybe occasional gusts up over 30 miles an hour. Nothing really threatening tropical storm strength at this juncture, but the waves continue to pound on in. We've already seen our low tide earlier this afternoon. We're inching our way towards high tide, which will be occurring right before midnight. And as we do, we can see some of the waves have been kicking on in anywhere from 3 to 5 feet, occasional waves topping out probably 6 or 7 feet by my guesstimation. And we're also seeing the spray coming off some of those waves. So that process will continue as we move into the evening hours. A beach that we had probably a couple of hundred feet maybe an hour ago is probably down to less than 100 feet from where it was at high tide earlier in the day. So we're expecting that to be exceeded and move water farther inland than what it did earlier this morning, with the compound effect of astronomical high tide coming in with almost a full moon, and the strength of Eduard to our south and southeast will continue to bring that surf on in. As far as the people and their response to Eduard, some of them gave up on a 3-day weekend, made it into a 2-day weekend, and went on home. And we saw the long lines heading out of our point in eastern Long Island earlier today when we came in. But I think everything's pretty well settled down for the night. Folks are just kind of taking it easy and enjoying their time. A little bit of rain they're dealing with. For the most part, they are glad to hear, Brad and John, that this hurricane may continue to drift a little bit farther to the east than even maybe a couple of hours ago.
Well, that trend seems pretty well established, Dennis. Have you noticed any change in your wind direction there?
The winds...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, John. Go ahead.
Well, you should begin to see the wind come around a little more out of the northeast before too long, we should think.
Ever so slightly. If anything, it's probably picked up just a little bit, running about maybe up over 30 miles an hour now. But again, that's probably compounded by the fact that some of the rain's blowing around as well.
All right, well, thanks a lot, Dennis. We'll get back to you later tonight as conditions may worsen. And, of course, we are watching it up and down the east coastline. Let's go back to the satellite and notice the circulation again is kind of expanded. You know, last night, John, I was noticing there weren't that many clouds to the west of the system. It seemed like there was a lot more shear or wind blowing. But tonight, what's going on?
Well, we had some westerly winds impinging on the western side of it yesterday that we don't see today. We don't really have any wind shear or anything going on there at all. The only reason this hurricane is weakening is that it's over colder water.
Okay, because if you go further north, we have much colder waters. We're talking about, what, 60 degrees?
Well, it might get in the upper 60s by the time you get all the way up to the coast, but right now it's over water in the upper 70s, I should think.
Okay, well, here are the hurricane watches and warnings that are posted. The hurricane warning is from Merrimack River, Massachusetts, down to Watch Hill, Rhode Island. And then on either side of that, we have a hurricane watch. Those same areas under a hurricane watch you do have tropical storm warnings, so you could feel tropical storm force winds 40 to 70 miles per hour, certainly with the gusts, with the squalls moving through, would be possible as it moves to the north. And we also have a storm surge here, John. Do you think we're going to see a real problem here with storm surge?
Well, that has always depended on where the center of the hurricane goes. If it would come right over Cape Cod, then the surge would be a lot higher. If it's going off to the northeast and actually goes southeast of Cape Cod, which we believe it is, the surge will not be so high.
Okay, then there's the wind field. Most of the wind is on the western side of the system, and we actually
eastern side.
Eastern side, right, John? And the strike probability now more east of Nantucket.
Right, and that's something, Brad, that folks want to watch, because each time the Hurricane Center puts out a new track, then we get new probabilities. And this last time, the maximum probability shifted eastward, and we would not be surprised at 11 o'clock to see it shift a bit more to the east.
And John, we're starting to see some heavy rain now moving in. Of course, Dennis Smith was out here on Long Island, and we have Mike Seidel on Chatham, Massachusetts. Mike, heavy rain is moving in on the radar. Is it moving in for real at your area?
Yes, it is, Brad. As you can see around me, the wind is whipping the rain. It's kind of misleading here because we're on the back of this building, which faces, the hotel faces east, which is out that way. And the winds are picking up, gusting at times to 30 miles an hour. So we're starting to get the fringe effects, at least of one of these squall bands here at Chatham, Massachusetts tonight.
And we would point out that you're going to be in this rain area all night long. And we want to point out that even though the center of the hurricane could go southeast of Cape Cod, there will be an area there across the southeastern part of New England where there will be substantial rainfall.
And I think because of the slower movement of the storm, if you remember back in '91, John, Bob just blew through here. Obviously a lot more wind damage, but not as much rain. This one's moving slower, so I would expect, as well as you, that we're going to see more rain with this particular storm versus Hurricane Bob in '91. Wanted to point out, by the way, if you've got any flight plans on Labor Day, Boston's Logan Airport, the last flight is out at 8:30 tonight. They're going to shut the airport down until sometime tomorrow afternoon, and most of the airlines have pulled their fleet out of Logan just to protect it. So if you've got any flights for late tonight or Labor Day, check ahead, because they probably will not reopen until sometime Monday afternoon.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mike, for that report. We'll be back to you later on this evening. John, what kind of effects are the big cities going to feel? New York, Hartford, Boston, much at all?
Well, I think the hurricane is going to be far enough east of New York so that they're not going to get very adverse effects at all in New York City. They seem to be west of the rain shield, pretty well west of everything. Now Boston, certainly we think we'll get some rain, but again, if it goes to the southeast, I don't think the winds will be all that bad in Boston. They may get, I doubt if they get up to hurricane force, for example.
Okay. So that's good news there. One last system we have to check on. Yes, there's even another one out there. This is Hurricane Fran. Winds up to 80 miles per hour, John, and headed in kind of a precarious direction there.
Yes, it is, and it's moving, has been moving up toward the northwest, and it's going to continue to do that. And I'm afraid in 3 or 4 days from now, it's not going to be that far off the coast of the USA. And it is increasing in strength. It's 80 miles an hour already, and we believe it will get stronger as time goes by.
Okay, we'll watch that carefully. Well, now we go back to the studio. We have a lot more going on. Of course, the rest of the forecasts and all the weather across the United States with